back again with another video, and like me and Dean said, we've started a new series for educational, inspirational things like that. And obviously, Dean's very good friends with Lee, so obviously Dean reached out to Lee. We've obviously got Lee Priest on. We're going to touch on a few topics to start with, and then we're just going to take it from there. So first of all, Lee, I really appreciate you taking the time out to obviously come on my channel with Dean. I know you're busy. I know you normally hit up other channels like RX and things like that. So respect where respect is due. Thank you. Obviously, I think we need to touch on, to start with, Luke Sandoe. Now, obviously, that's been, in the last 48 hours, a bit of a shock to the bodybuilding community. There was a lot of rumours, a lot of speculations. It's turned out in the end it was Luke's choice to end things his own way. And I think that it wouldn't be fair for us to do a podcast or sort of an interview without us touching on it as guys, not as bodybuilders or, influencers or anything, but just to get the word out there that it is bollocks that we can't, go and talk to someone, whether it's a friend, your mum, your dad, whoever it may be. So, I mean, me and Dean have done a lot of things on mental health these past few weeks on YouTube, and obviously Lee is very outspoken when it comes to anything, and I think with his following and his social media influence, it'd be perfect for Lee to give his opinion on something like this.
We got a perfect mix here, mate, because I'm really into health at the minute. So I'm all about health, and Lee's completely mental. So there's the mental and the health together. Let's get this started.
I'm offended by that. Yeah, but as you said, it is a shock. I guess I was actually just finished cardio because it's like 6:15 here in the morning on Sunday. So I was just started to watch Fouad's podcast with James and I think another friend. Was it Ben on there? I'm not sure if it was Ben, his other friend. Yeah. I just started watching that. So I guess to the outside, people like us, it's a shock. But it seems like people close to him knew he had these sort of demons or whatever he was dealing with. So it's always a shock when you see someone like that, because when you see Luke, when he was on thing, he was always happy-go-lucky, jokester type thing like I do. But then you see people, I guess through life, you see Robin Williams. Look at him. There's another one. Always when you see him, you think there's the guy that's got everything. He's happy, making people laugh, down to earth. But yet when you have those moments by yourself, I think that's when it really gets to you. And I've had friends over the years when I lived in America where sometimes it's like, well, if I go back to me, for instance, when I was young, I don't want to talk about myself, but when I was young and I cut my wrist, it was one of those things where I wouldn't say, some people have this thing where things have happened in their life and it makes them depressed and it plays on their whole life. Mine was more of a situation that come up. So then when I sat there and thinking about it, it made me depressed. But, the days leading up to it, I was fine. It wasn't until that 1 hour of me sitting there feeling sorry for myself, making it feel worse, playing in my head, going over and over, that I cut my wrist. And the only thing that woke me up was the knife was blunt. So when I put it back in to do it again, it stung and it sort of woke me up from it and stuff like that. So, sometimes people say when people go to commit suicide, they're selfish and that, they don't think of other people. Well, I could tell you at that point, I wasn't thinking about my family. I wasn't thinking about how this is going to affect people. It was just one of those things where I had enough and I went to do it. So, but that was like an on-the-spot type of depression where you're getting, where some people, it seems like looking at other people, they've had it their whole life with this depression. It just plays on and plays on them. And I've had friends like that who would talk to me when they've been depressed, but then you'd see them again for a week and they'd be happy as anything. And then I remember one friend of mine, he was, like I said, he had those places, you'd go to dark places, you'd talk about it, and then he'd be fine. You think, okay, he's slowly getting better. But I think it's those times when, if you're around people, you can sometimes talk to them. But I think, I think they were saying even with Luke not being able to, when you're locked away with this lockdown, not being able to get to the gym, I think sometimes when you spend too much time with yourself, that's when all the thoughts start playing over in your head. And, I know when I was by myself at that point, it was almost like I was almost making myself more depressed and more whatever. So I'd go ahead and do it. It's like almost talking myself into it. So, so like I said, going back to one of my friends, he was like that. He'd be up and down, and then he was in a good place for a long time. We went out for dinner on a Sunday night, happy as anything, making plans. See you Monday at the gym tomorrow, and on Wednesday we'll go do this. So from the whole week, he was happy. Sunday night had dinner, made plans. Monday morning, killed himself. So you often wonder, like I said, from that point at dinner time that night, happy as anything, he's gone home. Whatever's happened, and he's gone to that dark place, and then it's just happened, and that night killed himself. So, you know, it's good to talk about. And I think men should, because I guess, I go back to the old days. It was like harden up, you know, shut up, be a man, toughen up, this sort of stuff. Stop being a girl, you know, man up and just take it. And I think that's the attitude a lot of people have. It's even trying to get a male to go to a doctor's, like, you know, you go when you're on death's door. It's like you're sick. Your wife will say, go see a doctor. I'm okay, you know. You try and do this macho image. So I think men should just talk about it more. It's like even you see women all the time. I always joke around about it because you see women when they see their girlfriends, they run up, they give their girlfriends a hug. How you going? And we look at them going, oh, look at them, they're weird. I said, you know, guys should just be more open and, you know, rather than be like, hey, go on, mate, you know, touchy. If you want to give your mate a hug, give him a hug, do whatever. You know, but, you know, this whole thing, oh, well, that's a bit gay, this is that. That's like, who cares what people think? If you love your mate, give him a hug, tell him you love him or whatever. So I think men should just be more open with their feelings. It's not like a weakness or anything like that. You know, be open with your feelings and talk about how you feel and stuff like that. So I think, you know, things are slowly changing, and I think people can talk about it. But the sad thing is, it's like I said, when people I've probably known 3 friends that have committed suicide, and pretty much when they're going to do it, it's like you said, it's always at those points you think, could you have done something, or could you have been there? Because you can't be around them 24/7, and it's like I said, sometimes it's one of those things where you could have talked to them that day, and you think, okay, they're okay, they've got it out of their system, but then who knows what happens when they get home and sit alone, and they just go to that dark place, and all the thoughts start coming up. And generally, like when I did it, it's just that split second. Okay, I'm going to do it. Like I said, I wasn't thinking about it beforehand, and after that day, I've never thought about it since. But that's one of those things. And then like I said, it's just a split second that, you know, changes your whole life. It kills you. And it's similar to I've seen young kids where, you know, destroy their lives. They get into a fight with somebody, and then all of a sudden pull a gun out, boom. You know, that split second of not thinking or just thinking the wrong thoughts, and your whole life's changed, whether it's by committing murder, whereas, you know, people can plan murder and stuff, but sometimes it's just that split second crazy thought, and you do something that your whole life's changed. It changes other people's lives. So yeah, I think we should talk about it more, and if you do have those feelings, talk about it. But sadly, it's like sometimes when people get to these places, you know, when they say it's selfish, but to them, like one of my friends, he always just, his whole idea in his head was that the world would be better off without him. I'd be like, well, you know, you got kids, you got a wife, you got this, yeah, but they'd be better off without me. No matter how much you talk to him, that was his whole mind frame, that him being dead, everyone would be better off without him. And slowly, in the end, he did kill himself. And he used to speak to people, so he would feel good, and you could make him see, okay, your kids are going to miss you. Then he'd be like, yeah, I've got to be here for my kids and that. But then something, whatever I said in their past has traumatized him, whatever, he'll go back to that, no, they would be better off without me and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just one of those things. You always hope you can talk to people and make them feel better and stuff like that. But, you know, sometimes it just comes down to their thoughts. Sometimes it's people that have maybe a chemical imbalance in their mind and stuff like that, where some could need medication to even themselves out and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just really sad that when it happens, especially when it happens to, you know, people you sort of know, whether personally or just through podcasts or seeing them compete at contests and stuff like that. And then you do feel, like you said, you feel for his children and stuff like that. So, yeah, and friends. And yeah, it is like sad when it does happen. But the thing that, you know, it's like anything in this sport. As soon as I heard it, I think Dave posted it, I always got really annoyed straight away because, you know, before people know shit, get these idiots online, steroids, another one dead, this sport's unhealthy. I'm just like, really? It's like, just shut up. You don't need to go there. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So with regards to obviously you saying that you've, in that split second that you had the sort of the thought to do it, you tried it, sort of failed. I mean, how old were you back then? I mean, we're talking like teens.
I was 19.
19, and was that just like some sort of stress? Was it relationship? Was it?
No, it's because it's when I was competing and doing the lightweights and stuff. Like I won the Mr. Australia 3 times, and I was always drug tested. Never took steroids. Got 2 drug tests before I went to the World Championships in Poland. Passed both the drug tests. Went over there. Did the drug test when I got to Poland on the Thursday. And then on the Thursday night, the World Congress at the IFBB thing has their meeting, and on a Friday they had their meeting. And if you come up positive, that's when they tell the athletes you've been positive, you can't compete. I knew I was be fine because I was still a lightweight competitor. To stay under 70-odd kilos, I wasn't using any gear. So I did the show, did the pre-judging. Everyone's like, oh, Lee, this is your year. You're going to win it. My judges got you first. I'm like, look, until I get the trophy, I'm not going to get excited. So got to the night show, was almost ready to go out and perform, and I got to come here. I'm like, what? you come up positive. I'm like, what? How could I be positive? It's like, I haven't used anything. Well, you have. And I can't even remember what drug it was. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Went back to the hotel room and I was sort of crying, called my mum up. I did look over the balcony at that time and I went, oh, maybe I should just jump, because I'm just thinking, I sort of know now if someone's ever been accused of murder, or, you know, when someone's just like said you're guilty and they're like, I'm innocent, we're like, oh, sure you are, yeah, bullshit. And being a bodybuilder, if they say you're positive of steroids and you're like, but I haven't taken them, oh, fuck off, yeah, you have. It's like, you're a bodybuilder, of course you have. But I had it, that's the main thing. And like, and I've always been honest, even at a young age, and my mum knew I hadn't. So push come to shove, I get home and they're like, my mum calls up the Australian Institute of Sport, which has one of the highest standards of drug testing. I've still got the paper somewhere that says I was negative, because my grandmother kept it because she was just so outraged. And they called up the Australian Institute of Sport. My mum told him what happened. They said, well, we tested him twice before he left. He couldn't be. So they said, we can test him again. So my mum's like, great. I think at the time it was like $370 odd, something like that, to get the test done. But because I was a member of the IFBB, we had to get their permission. And they said, no, don't test me again. And the B sample went missing. So going through that thing of, you know, if I had one, I would have got my pro card, but it wasn't the main thing. But then I was just living at the back of a gym in Brisbane and stuff like that. I was just sitting there and I was like, well, this is not fun, living at the back of a gym. I was eating baked beans out of a tin. I'm thinking, this sucks. I might have had some slow, soppy music on, and I'm just getting myself worked up. This is suck. Even though I didn't really want to be pro, I'm thinking, but I could have had a pro card now. I could have been in America and this and that. And I'm like, fuck it, what have I got here? So, like I said, I was that fucking shitty living at the back of a gym. I used to clean homes at night and clean factories from like 10 at night to 2 in the morning. And then I'd clean homes and that during the day, as well as work at the gym and clean the gym. So I'm like, I didn't mind living in the gym. It was nice, but I think I just got to that frame of mind. Like, well, fuck, where's a knife? Where's a knife on it? That's it. And I had the music. I remember just putting on the worst song. I was pushing myself to that place of the real depression, then cut the rest. And I sort of looked down at it. It's like, okay, it's cut, it's bleeding, but it doesn't seem like it should be, you know, in the movies, blood. I'm thinking, well, this could take a long time to fucking bleed out at this rate. So I got the knife and I put it back in. As soon as I put the knife back in, I guess I must have been coming out of that, you know, where you're all psyched up to do something.
Yeah.
And it just fucking stung. I went, fuck. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that. Get on the phone. Yeah, Mum, I just cut my wrist. You better come get me. So, yeah, so that was it. That was
funny you should say about like the music though. Dean mentioned this the other day when we did a podcast on mental health. And ironically, like I was in the situation probably Luke was a couple of days ago, a few weeks back. So I've been like speaking to a counsellor and stuff since. So I did a video about my mental health on the channel just a few days ago, obviously before Luke passed. And one of the issues was, like you say, you put the shit music on, the sad music, and you sort of you're taking yourself on this weird little journey that you don't need to be doing. But it's like I don't know what it is. It's like you want to be sad, so you proactively sort of put yourself in these fucked up states of mind. And like you say, you knew at the time, you put some sad, slow song. It's normally some soppy love song or something weird.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone uses to get to that dark place.
But it's true. It's almost like you're going to that place where you know you shouldn't be going. It's almost like if you're training and you're going to do a heavy set or something, you know, you get yourself in that frame of mind. Some people use music for that. And you're really getting psyched up. You're getting psyched up to get yourself amped up to do this set. But when it came to the other side of the suicide, it was almost like you're taking yourself down. You're trying to make yourself depressed. What can I find to make myself depressed? I put on this love song that might take you back to a time you broke up with a girlfriend. And so you're trying to almost get yourself at a level where, you know what, this is easy. I can do this. Or you start just, you know, thinking of things that just make you sad, or a grandparent or someone passing away. It's like I said, where one side in bodybuilding, you get yourself amped up, you're almost pushing yourself. So it almost just makes it easier to do it because you're like, you know what, I'm that depressed, fuck it, got nothing to live for, I'm sad. It's almost like it just comes natural then to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, Dean, you made some good points last time, so I don't know if you want to reiterate those about your sort of physiology and about, you know, getting up and about and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the body and the mind is connected to each other. So whatever your mental state you're in, you'll find that your physiology is doing a certain thing. So you see when people are down or depressed, you can see in their body the way they're sat, they'll be slumped and shallow breathing, head down, eyes down. And like you're saying, the sad music will kind of put you into that position. You just feel slumped and shitty and get more into that state. So if you can recognize the state, but first, like some people, they want to be in that state. They're feeling sorry for themselves. But if you've had enough's enough, I don't want to have a shitty life. I don't want to be down, sad, or depressed anymore. Then you can realize what your body's doing, change your physiology, then your mindset will follow. So like just getting up, getting moving. This is why a lot of people, when they're active in the gym, they're training, any kind of fitness, they're moving, their blood's pumping, they're in a positive physiology. So it's releasing endorphins and making them feel good. You never know. You never seen somebody in the middle of a training session go and commit suicide because he's down or pissed off. It's when they're on their own, sat in that depressive state, thinking over shit. They're not moving much, playing the music. And like Lee says, in that moment, things get so bad in your head. All it takes is that one moment, don't it? So you have to be aware of what your body's doing with your physiology. Yeah, take that.
Yeah, I'll cut that one out. So obviously moving from the Luke Sandoe situation, obviously it's a really shit situation. Obviously, everybody's helped share, spread the word with the GoFundMe. I think it's like well over £100,000 now. Which is absolutely brilliant. Considering that, everybody probably thinks the bodybuilding community is massive, but it's such a niche sport. The community part of it, I'd say that very loosely because I think the community aspect of it it's not like, football where you've got, hundreds of thousands of fans for one, like, Real Madrid, and they do sometimes come together and whether it's to fuck a city or to promote a charity or whatever. But off the back of that, seeing it, the target was 50k, they upped it to 100k. I think that's been absolutely brilliant. It's shown how much everybody did love Luke, not just as a bodybuilder, like you've said, because I rang you as soon as I found out. I spoke to Dean. He was a lovable guy, genuinely was, and it wasn't a case of like people just saying shit after the fact, because you normally get that at most funerals. Oh, he was really nice, this, that, and the other. And you're thinking, no, he's a bit of a dick, to be honest. But Luke was a lovely guy. And one of the comments I think might be poetic to sign off on the Luke Sandoe conversation was I saw a comment on the GoFundMe page, and it said, for somebody that was in such a dark place, he would always try and make people laugh. And I read that and I thought, out of everything I've seen, I thought that was perfect. It sort of summed him up towards the end. And I know from what he's been dealing with, it's been stemming from like pre-bodybuilding and stuff. So I don't know if you guys have got anything else you want to add with regards to mental health, any sort of links you want to throw out there, or just,
I think just in Australia they have like the main one here is like Beyond Blue or something like that, where they for mental health and stuff like that. But then sometimes I've heard people have caught up that line, and some of the people that get on there aren't too qualified. So sometimes it's, some of these lines where you call people up, sometimes I often wonder who they have actually working on the other end. So sometimes, they might be good to call in those moments if you can't get hold of a friend. But sometimes I think just having a good friend or even a family member you can open up to sometimes is the best thing. Or, as Dean said, if you can recognise it early enough and change your thought process and get out the house or do something, that can help too. But it's just hard. It's one of those things that you never know. And like I said, you can talk to people, but if people are in that place where they're going to do something, sometimes it's no matter what you do, it's like, you'll get the ones where they've thought it out, they've got it all planned out. They're the ones that will write the whole note, I'm finishing life, leave a note for the family. Then you get the ones where, like I said, it's just that spare of the moment thing. And sometimes you'll know it because they've been depressed. You can sort of see it was coming. Then you just get the ones where it's just a shock out of the blue. It's just those in that little space like I did where no one would have seen it coming at all. If I had it done, it would have been like, fuck, why did Lee kill himself? So it would have been just one of those things where it happens out of the blue. So it's, as I said, there's all different stages people go through and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just, it is good the bodybuilding community come together, like you said. But I still think with all the people out there, it's like I think Fowd was saying, if everyone just gave $1, if you had 300,000 followers, if everyone just gave $1, I've seen some charities that get millions of dollars for shit things and stuff like that. When you're talking about someone that's given so much to the body community, he's got children and stuff like that. Yes, 100,000 is great, but I think people could have maybe dug a little bit deeper. Now, that's not a knock on everyone, but it's just like, if you've got 300,000 followers and this and that, but I don't know if Dean's the same, but we have a lot of great fans in the bodybuilding community, and we have a lot of cheap fans too that they want stuff for free. I'm not donating $5 to that. Oh, how much is that bottle of Deca? $150. Here you go. Thank you.
That sums up bodybuilders altogether.
Some are very selfish. They think about themselves. Yeah, it's okay. They'll be like, yeah, that's sad. You're going to donate? No, I don't have the money to donate. Yeah, give me 2 bottles of test, 6 IUs of growth. Yeah, I'll buy that. It's like, come on. It's like, even if you just went, I say that sometimes before, even when I did one for the Koala Foundation, people are like, oh, Leo, I don't have any money. I'm like, well, sometimes people spend $4 on a cup of coffee every day. It's like, if you have a couple of cups of coffee, go without 1 cup of coffee, If you had a couple of 100,000 people all given £4 for the price of a cup of coffee, then that's going to add up to a ton of money. But, people just don't think like that. Sometimes they get into that, that's not going to be much. Or even sometimes people might be embarrassed. They think, well, £1 or £2, that's a bit embarrassing. But you can donate it anonymously. And like I said, if 300,000 people just donated £1 or £2, there's $300,000, $600,000. So it does add up.
That's a fair point. And back to obviously just briefly on the charity thing. Some of them you don't actually have to call. There was one I spoke to a few weeks ago that was all on text. So you could literally just text them. So I know a lot of guys find it difficult to actually speak out loud. So I'm just putting this out there. There are services. I don't know what it's like in Australia. I will find some links and put them in the description.
We do have the texting ones here too, where you can do it like as you said, because some people find it hard to speak.
Yeah.
I think even this day and age now, even friends. I have friends that text me and they keep going back and forth. I'm like, mate, just fucking call me rather than text back and forth. It was so much easier to talk, but for some reason now people rather text. But yeah, I'm just scared if I went to one of those mental health text one, after like 30 minutes on text, they'll probably hang up once I send them a dick pic.
Fucking hell.
Do you work for this mental health company, Leo? People ring you up and like 5 minutes later they just commit suicide to get off the phone.
Oh, probably. That's the thing. See, I'd contact them for mental health, and by the time I'm finished, the person on the other end will be like,
they're on the helpline straight away.
No, they'll be like, my life isn't as bad as his. I'm good. Thanks. Oh my.